The Philippines has declared a national energy emergency, triggering mandatory remote work and environmental rollbacks that rewrite the rules of daily life. For the average commuter, the crisis hits right here at the pump. Projections show diesel prices spiking to 134 pesos per liter, a cost that erases entire household budgets. This global map illustrates how local pain stems from a conflict thousands of miles away. Military escalation has effectively choked off the Strait of Hormuz, trapping 20% of the world's daily oil supply behind a maritime blockade. Because the Philippines imports nearly all of its petroleum, the country physically cannot isolate itself from this distant shock. Every drop of fuel must navigate that fragile supply chain to reach the archipelago. As this 3D infographic shows, the government is racing against a brutal mathematical reality. The entire nation is operating on a shrinking reserve of just 45 days of fuel. If that reserve hits zero, this massive infrastructure network stops moving entirely. Goods won't reach markets, workers can't reach offices, and the economy will flatline. The daily survival of every citizen is now chained to a foreign conflict. To prevent the economy from bleeding out, Manila is intervening with absolute authority. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. signed Executive Order 110, activating a crisis framework known as Uplift. The immediate strategy is aggressive demand destruction, forcing the country to consume less fuel so those 45 days stretch further. To physically remove cars from the grid, the government mandated 4-day work weeks for public employees and established stringent work-from-home protocols. For those who must travel, the state enacted steep 50% fare cuts on the MRT and LRT train systems, actively pushing citizens out of private vehicles and into mass transit. But the transport sector itself is at the breaking point. Soaring diesel prices are erasing the razor-thin daily margins of public transit drivers, pushing angry transport unions to organize crippling nationwide strikes. To stop the streets from emptying entirely, the administration is fast-tracking a 2.49 billion peso emergency subsidy package to artificially stabilize the transit sector. This cash translates to direct injections of up to 10,000 pesos for operators of buses and modern transit vehicles, effectively paying them to keep driving at a loss. These interventions are expensive, debt-funded band-aids, temporary measures bought to prevent immediate civil and economic collapse. The crisis extends far beyond the gas pump and straight into the power grid. Skyrocketing global prices for liquefied natural gas cooled to a liquid state for easier shipping, threaten to crush working-class households with unaffordable electricity bills. In response, the Department of Energy executed a severe environmental rollback. They temporarily abandoned green energy targets to maximize output from carbon-heavy local coal plants. To feed these plants, Manila is securing unlimited coal imports from Indonesia. The administration is officially prioritizing cheap, reliable baseload power over its climate commitments. This hierarchical flowchart illustrates the extreme legal authority required to execute this pivot. Executive Order 110 activates Supreme Court-backed emergency powers, allowing the government to legally take over private oil firms if necessary. It also creates a massive financial bypass. State agencies can now ignore standard procurement laws, paying up to 15% upfront to secure international fuel contracts before competing nations can buy them. To survive the shock, the nation is actively dismantling its environmental standards and overriding corporate law, trading its long-term ideals just to keep the lights on tomorrow. While the immediate triage relies on coal, this crisis has forced a permanent departure from fossil fuel dependency. This is the doctrine of energy realism, the understanding that renewable power is a critical matter of national defense, securing the grid against foreign supply shocks. Lawmakers are quickly codifying this defensive posture. The House of Representatives just passed the Energy Storage Systems Act by a landslide majority, creating a strict legal framework for grid reliability. The physical infrastructure is already taking root to replace the old grid. Massive investments are pouring into facilities like the Meralco Terra Solar Project and Citicor's new solar baseload plants. This schematic illustrates the crucial component, the Battery Energy Storage System, or BESS. A BESS is a large-scale battery facility that captures renewable energy when it is generated and stores it for later use. By holding on to solar power and deploying it to the grid at night, the country can break its reliance on imported oil. The expensive transport subsidies and the terrifying 45-day countdown represent the severe pain of the present, but they are the exact catalysts accelerating this battery-powered infrastructure. The Philippine energy emergency is more than a temporary disruption. It is the violent, necessary shock that is rewriting the nation's infrastructure, ensuring the daily commute will never be the same.